Hello friends and welcome to this video on Authentic English, and in this video we are going to discuss the story Fritz by Satyajit Ray. First of all, I'm very sorry for not being able to upload videos for such a long time because I was busy with my exams. So now that I'm free, I am going to resume uploading videos, and this video is about this short story by Satyajit Ray known as Fritz. So first of all, let me just give you a brief introduction about Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray was an Indian filmmaker, author, and musician. Okay, so he was a very diverse artist. He had excelled in a lot of art forms, and the story called Fritz was written by him. And now let's look at the title first. So Fritz is the name of a Swiss doll. So you might be wondering what this Fritz is all about if you've not read the story. So the Fritz is the name of a Swiss doll, and it's kind of a scary story, you can say it, maybe, to an extent. It's a story which does not feature actually any ghosts, but it actually has this eerie environment. So let me just summarize the story for you and then we'll analyze it. So two friends, Jayanto, an editor in a newspaper, and Shankar, a school teacher, decide to go for a trip to Bundi in Rajasthan. So Bundi is a town in Rajasthan, and I think it's known for some old forts, and it's kind of considered to be a scary place. So there are two friends, and of course they are not children, they are grown up, because one is an editor in the newspaper and Shankar is a school teacher. So it's really nice to see that at this age, when people grow up, they don't actually have a lot of time for their friends, and here the two friends have been able to take out time of the schedules to just visit this place. So this editor in the newspaper, Jayanto, and Shankar, a school teacher, decide to go for a trip to Bundi in Rajasthan. They decide to stay in a dark bungalow. Now the story is told from the perspective of Shankar's point of view. Okay, it is Shankar who is the narrator in the story. So when they go to Bundi, they decide to stay in a dark bungalow. Okay, so dark bungalow is the circuit house. Okay, so it's an old kind of a place, a dark bungalow maybe, which is empty, and they decide to stay there. Jayanto went to Bundi once before in childhood. So when he was a child, Jayanto had been to Bundi once with his parents and stayed at the same place. So now he is visiting here again. He has already been here once. I'm talking about Jayanto. Shankar, I think, has come for the first time. Upon reaching that place, Jayanto feels a bit uneasy as he remembers the past memories. Now, okay, so he suffers from a lot of nostalgia when he sees that place again. He visited it when he was a child, and now he is coming back to it again. So a lot of time has passed, and of course he's feeling very nostalgic on seeing everything around. Okay, so this may happen for a lot of reasons, because first of all, as we read the story, we get to know that he has had some unpleasant and some kind of weird experiences at this place. Okay, so this is part of the reason why he feels uneasy when he goes back there. And the other reason, of course, is the fact that when somebody visits a place that one has been to in the past, there is, of course, this tendency of the human mind to connect the present with the past. So one of the themes that I believe the story shows is the fact that the past is always there, and the past is what shapes our future. Okay, what we are today is going to decide the kind of person we become tomorrow. Okay, so past plays a very important role in the story, and in fact a lot of story is told in flashback. If you've read the story, of course, when I provide you a summary, that does not mean that you are going to free yourself from the task of reading the stories. You have to read the stories. If you have to read the text if you want to find out what actually the writer meant to say. This short summary is for your exam preparation and the analysis also. So let's resume. They go out to explore the place and visit the Bundi fort, which is in ruins. So they go out and go to this fort, Bundi fort, and they find that this fort is kind of dilapidated. It's in ruins. Jayanto is described to be an emotional man, and of course he feels very nostalgic on seeing everything. Jayanto, because he has already been there, so he sees the fort, he sees how much it's become dilapidated, and of course Jayanto is feeling very emotional on this trip. Now that's why he can be called an emotional man. So now what happens is they decide to go for a walk in the open, and now they decide to go for a walk in the open in that fort. And Jayanto remembers there used to be a deodar tree there, so he recalls about a deodar tree that used to be somewhere there in the courtyard of the fort. At last he finds the tree. So it's like, okay, he's pressing down on his memory, so he remembers that he saw a tree, but he does not remember the exact location of the tree. So one of the things that the story hints at is the fact that the memory can be distorted. Okay, the memory is not always clear. Okay, you know that our memories can deceive us at times. So there is this theme of memory in this story, which we'll talk about more in our analysis section. He says he had met an European there but cannot remember anything more. Okay, another fact of memory, that he met an European there but he cannot remember anything more. And now when he in some more time he'll remember more of it. They return to the circuit house where the cook Dilwar has prepared dinner for them. Okay, so now they return to the dark bungalow or circuit house, and there is this cook also there who has prepared some dinner for them. Meanwhile, Jayanto has remembered more about the place and the European, and so now, after thinking a lot, he's able to just clear some more of his hazy memory. He now remembers more about the place and the European. And now there is the story of Fritz. Okay, so now he's going to describe about this doll and everything else that happened there when he visited it last. He says his uncle brought a Swiss doll called Fritz from him, which he loved very much. So a doll was brought to him by his uncle from Switzerland, and he loved that doll very much. What happened was that two dogs mutilated it and he buried it under the deodar tree. So what happened is that two dogs caught hold of this doll and they destroyed it. Okay, so they must have torn the doll apart, and of course he was, very sad to see that, and he buried it under the deodar tree. They then decided to sleep. Okay, so now he tells him the story about the doll Fritz, and the two people in the circuit house decide to sleep. Shankar finds Jayanto awake in the middle of night, and now what happens is that maybe Shankar also got up for something, and he sees that Jayanto is sitting awake on the bed. Jayanto says he felt something more move over his chest. Okay, so now he says that he felt that something moved over his chest, and this is where you see a little bit of the ghostly elements kind of appear. Who is the now we have to make sense of it. Who can it be who moved over his chest? Was he just hallucinating? Okay, so it may be true. Was he only saying this because his mind was thinking too much about the past and he was feeling things, or something like that really happened? Of course, nobody can tell. It's left to you to decide what you want to think of it. Shankar tells him he must be dreaming. Okay, so Shankar, being a more rational man, okay, so he is using logic, that how can something move over his chest like that? Okay, so he is using logic, and Jayanto, you can say, is devoid of logic at this point. Okay, if you're talking about logic, but then you know that logic is something that is always not right. Albert Einstein had said that logic will get you from A to B and imagination takes you everywhere. So here, if you want to juxtapose it with this story, Shankar's logic is telling him that there can be no doll, but Jayanto's imagination tells him that something moved over his chest. But then Jayanto shows him some marks on the pillow that showed a small animal walked over it, and now he's showing him some marks on his pillow. And now this is strange. How did the marks appear? Nobody knows. Maybe it was an animal, or maybe it was actually something else. However, they can't find any animal. Okay, so they search for some animal or anything, but they don't. Shankar comforts Jayanto. So Shankar, what does he do? He comforts his friend and asks him to sleep and not worry, and everything will be fine in the end. Okay, so now let's see what happens. And now we're going to reach the end of the story. The next morning they visit the fort again, and Jayanto is again lost in the old memories and looks disturbed. So they visit the fort again, and Jayanto is always, as usual, is lost in the old memories. He's feeling nostalgic and he looks disturbed. Shankar asks Jayanto what's troubling him, and he tells Shankar that he feels that it was Fritz who came to the room last night. So he says that he feels that it was nobody else but the doll Fritz who came to the room last night. Shankar thinks he's speaking nonsense. Of course, Shankar is logic again tells him that he's speaking nonsense. There is nothing like ghosts. How can something that was buried and something that was not alive? Okay, so this doll is not even a living object. Had it been a person, so we could have said that, yeah, there was a spirit. Okay, so there was something like that, a spirit. But in this case, the doll did not even possess a spirit. It was an inanimate object. So how can something like that come to him? Maybe it was its love for that doll that was troubling him, and that made Jayanto wonder that yes, that doll really loved him and longed to come back to him. It can be anything. Okay, you are free to just use whatever you want. You can use logic and you can say that it cannot be possible, or you can use an imagination and say that ghosts exist, and yes, it can be possible. To remove this fear from Jayanto's mind, Shankar suggests that they dig the ground and see for himself that Fritz is not there, and there he must have decayed in the soil. And so now Shankar suggests that if he buried that doll there, he can dig the ground and see for himself that Fritz is not there, and he must have decayed in the soil. And only that metal buckle, okay, so the doll also has some metallic pieces, so the metal does not decay in the soil. It must be there, and the entire body of the doll would have decayed in the soil. So they dig the ground. They think they will not find any remains of the doll after 30 years. Okay, so it's been such a long time, 30 years. They decide to dig with the help of a gardener. Okay, so now what happens is that they decide to dig with the help of a gardener. To their surprise, the gardener finds a 12-inch skeleton resembling that of Fritz the doll. And so now what happens is that a 12-inch skeleton is found by the gardener to their surprise, and it resembles the skeleton of that, not the skeleton, but it resembles the size and the shape of the doll, the Fritz. And of course, the story ends here on a cliffhanger, and what happens is that both these people are very scared of seeing it. Okay, so now let's analyze the story. So the past is often recounted throughout the story. One's past holds extreme importance in shaping the present. So past is something that is very important in shaping the person's life. It means to suggest that your past, although it does not exist anymore, it actually exists in your mind, and that is what shapes your present and your future. It means to suggest that one cannot always get over his past. Okay, in this case, the past is related to this nostalgia for the place and for the doll, and in other cases, it can be any type of past. There's of course a little contrast between the two characters. While Shankar, of course, talks logically, and Jayanto, you can say, is a little devoid of logic. Themes include universality of fear. So this is very important, that fear can strike anybody at any time. And when a person is struck by fear, maybe he does not talk logical. Okay? Fear is something that is there for one person and that's not there for another person. One person may be scared of peanuts and the other person may not be scared of it. So the fear is universal. Friendship, of course, the two are good friends. Superstition, okay, so we can say that there is a little bit of superstition in the story. Okay, memories and past, and of course one of the themes, very important themes, is that of memory. One's memory is not always clear. Okay, you can read it. One's memory can be distorted, hazy, and sometimes even wrong. Okay, so perhaps he asked the gardener to dig at the wrong place, and it was not the skeleton of Fritz at all. It was somebody else's skeleton. And if, or maybe, okay, a startling end, whose skeleton was it? The readers are left to wonder. So nobody knows that whose skeleton it was. Was it actually the skeleton of Fritz the doll? If it was a skeleton, was Fritz a human? Or it was just something else? Maybe you can also say that maybe Jayanto was speaking lies all the time. He was just fooling Shankar. Huh. See, it's my opinion. You can say that. It can also be true. Nobody knows. Because now we are left to wonder. Or maybe he just asked him to dig at the wrong place. And of course, it may not be, that's why it may not be the skeleton of Fritz. And one also reason that supposes viewpoint is the fact that there is no buckle. Where is the metal buckle that was there on Fritz? Nobody knows. There can be many interpretations of this. One interpretation can be that it was not the skeleton of Fritz, since there was no metal buckle. The other interpretation can make us ponder over the fact that if it was a doll, how did it have a skeleton? Or maybe somebody else can say whether it was Fritz actually a real human? Or maybe Jayanto was fooling the narrator all the time. Or fifthly, it was somebody else's skeleton and Jayanto asked him to dig at the wrong place and his memory has failed him. So this is the analysis of the story, and I hope that you people have understood it well. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section below. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not done so, and I'll be uploading more videos soon. Thank you. Goodbye.